following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hi, welcome to The Ring and All Other Sports. My name is Leo Connors and I'm your host. And tonight I got two special guests. I got Brian Fury and Maverick Wild. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having me again.
Thank
See you again.
Thank you for coming on again.
Did
Really.
you ever get sick of me?
Nope. You got an open invitation. I already told you that. It's the truth. Anytime you want to come on, kind of like how you do. Now you're a full co-host at the wrestling podcast about nothing.
Yes, I am.
Which I listen to every Monday morning when I get to work. All right, guys. We all know it sucks, but the Patriots lost. 2013, you guys said, or Dick said, I kind of shut it off when I knew they were going to lose. I was pissed. But we all know that Brady didn't have the weapons and all that, okay? But is there anybody else from last year's team? Because I have one guy that you wish they should have kept and would have helped them out an awful lot, I believe, giving the other offensive linemen some confidence. I was kind of pissed when they let Trent Brown go.
Yeah.
Who was singled out by Brady as he's doing the Super Bowl, an interview after the game. How do you guys feel about that?
Well,
seriously.
I think the bigger problem was, if I ever see Marshall Newhouse on the field again, oh my God. I used to call him Marshall S. House. I mean, It was terrible. God, it was awful to watch. I mean, fine, get rid of somebody, but don't replace him with that. Oh, right.
Well, we also lost Dave Andrews though, too. I think he had to retire. And he was really good.
Yes, he was.
What do you think?
A lot of injuries and different other things, but you think about earlier in the season, you have Brown, Thomas, Gordon, all on the same team. Just to see what their offense became towards the end of the year. Their offense was bad. Yeah, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You hold the team technically to 14 points. You should win a game like that.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, nothing you can do.
Right.
It happens.
Yep. All right, I think that covers it because it's a pretty sad topic anyway.
That's the all other sports portion.
Yeah, that's the all other sports, which as Matt pointed out earlier off camera, that is, what is it, every 8 episodes I usually do it?
Yep, and I'd like to do this for Brian Malonis.
I lost. Yeah, he's happy. A lot of other people out. You know who else is happy? Big Bacon's happy.
He was happy for a moment.
Right, but Big Bacon's happy because he's a Tennessee Titans fan.
Really?
Yeah, and I can't stand reading his tweets right now. All right, guys, let's do the fan questions, get out of the way, and then I'd really like you guys just to talk wrestling. You know what I mean? Seriously, I think it'd be awesome. All right, George Resnick Jr. says, what are your plans on expanding Chaotic going into the next decade?
Same as always, we want to get some new towns, different things. Woburn kind of closing, forced our hand in that a little bit. And then on top of that, we're always looking for different places to expand, maybe add a couple Saturday shows. So we can do a couple back-to-backs and things. It's just a matter of, if you run New Hampshire, you're dealing with the commission and whatnot. And certain towns have different regulations and stuff. Yeah. So we actually were looking into Hudson, and we had to go through the town representatives and everything, and didn't necessarily work out. The same thing with a lot of other places. So it's not like we're not trying. We are trying. It's just a matter of time will tell before we can do exactly what we want to do.
Are you finding that a lot of because a lot of the fraternal orders and clubs and things where you traditionally would run wrestling before, is that really kind of killing into where you can run? Yeah.
So the biggest things we've had issues with so far are actual cities and towns, more so than the places. Yeah. Some of the places are, maybe a little apprehensive, but Chaotic's track record and, the professionalism that we have, that's not really that much of a worry compared to a lot of other places that have only been running for, a year or something. We're like 20 years going technically. Yeah. So that helps a lot.
Right. No doubt. My buddy Dave Clary, I think I'm going to finally get him to his second Chaotic show this weekend.
Perfect.
What New England wrestler do you wish that you had the opportunity to train that you didn't? Is anybody that's out there that you would have loved to have said, man, would have been nice to have my hands on that kid?
To help out?
Yeah,
to help take to the next level?
Yeah.
There's a lot of different people. I think someone that's doing a lot of stuff for Beyond Wrestling right now is Chuck O'Neill.
Yep.
And I think I could hone him a little bit and,
Right.
and help him in some certain aspects and whatnot, as far as certain psychology and different levels of matches to be able to kind of kick it into second gear and stuff
Right.
like that. And I think he would benefit a lot from something like that. That those types of things that I think I really excel in
Yep.
as far as teaching and helping out.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of different people out there that I would love to help out and work with, but he's just one that kind of popped to mind first.
I mean, but a lot of them a lot of the guys seem to jump around. It's not out of any preference for one places, but they seem to jump to a couple of different places between you and Drew and maybe a couple other spots, and just to kind of diversify.
Yeah, no, I recommend to my students, go do camps at different places, go train
Right.
a couple of different places, just
Yep.
so you can kind of see what else is out there. Sometimes you might hear the same exact thing that I say, just worded a little bit differently, and that will click for them. That's why a lot of times I bring in people for seminars and different camps and stuff, so they can kind of hear it in a different way. Or sometimes they're like, "Oh, that guy
Right.
used to wrestle for WWE, so he's got to know what he's talking about," type of mentality. But yeah, I always say go other places, train, and just kind of feel what it's like to go elsewhere and
Right.
hear things differently or learn things a little bit differently.
I just was at Beyond one of the Thursday nights, and I saw Chuck work, and I hadn't seen him in probably a year and a half, and definitely better, but he's really good on the mic, and he's easy to hate. He's really easy to hate.
They hate him a lot there.
Oh, yeah, they do. All right, here's the long one from Buddy Gallo, Gardner, M. Browning. Many sports offer adaptive style training so individuals with disabilities can enjoy and excel. And the activity is an equally meaningful way from your years of experience working with so many different students, all with varying styles, learning styles, and in what ways can pro wrestling instruction be tailored for individuals with physical or congenital disabilities? Thank you, Buddy.
That's a tough one because I think there are ways that you can integrate them into something like a fantasy camp or something like that, just so they can get in the ring and feel it out, But I think for pro wrestling training and stuff, for me, and what I think, it's like you can't really adapt things as far as that goes. We are so physical, we are so mental, and all together at the same time that it's going to be far too difficult. And it's like I wouldn't feel comfortable trying to adapt things to a certain level. If they wanted to come in for a special class or something and play around or do some things like something like that, but I don't think I could actually adapt training or to kind of include everybody. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Sure it is.
It's hard for people without disabilities. Never mind trying to get people with disabilities.
Regardless of how much it's changed over the years, it's still physical. It still requires a bare minimum physical ability, and just something. Sometimes
you gotta remember spots, right? I mean, I know you can walk other people through that have maybe wrestled before, but someone new.
See, to me, that
would be hard, right?
I don't want to stomp all over his question, but to me, that's always been the swing variable with a lot of guys. It's their mental abilities and their physical abilities where they meet. Some guys are just are much better. They're much better on the microphone. They're much better with a crowd presentation. And some are just straight out athletes. And then they mix and match, and that's always been the adaptive part of it. I don't want to trounce on anybody, but it's so tough to get, like, no offense to a guy like Zach Gallen. That to me was very hard to buy into. And I know some people would probably disagree and think I'm an ogre for saying something like that.
See, for me, I think in certain situations something like that can work, but it can't become the norm. It can't become like something you do regularly. If there's a certain situation and story or something that went along with it, cool, but it's not something that I could see on a regular basis. No. It's people don't understand how hard it is outside of the physical stuff, because everybody hears about the physical stuff. Whenever new students come in, they expect all the physical stuff to be tough, but then when you get into that advanced ring and you got to start thinking in addition to all the physical stuff, that's where a lot of people break down and hit all the roadblocks and plateaus and everything, and that's where it becomes really, really tough for a lot of people.
Okay, great, thank you. Thanks for the question, buddy. Dan Boley wants to know. This is the question. No, it's not. I'm sorry. It comes up in a little bit. A lot of people in New England talk about Scotty Slade and McCarthy facing Ryback on Raw. However, you and Ilya wrestled him as well on SmackDown. I was there. Can you tell us about the experience?
We wrestled. It was the next day, actually.
Okay.
They did that Raw. We did SmackDown the next day on Tuesday. That aired on, I think it was Thursday then or Friday. I don't know, one or the other.
Right.
It was a great experience. You know, they got a bunch of local people in the area like they always do, and that was the time where Ryback was working with 2 and kept wanting to do 3.
Right.
And actually, that day it was originally supposed to be 3. It was going to be me, Ilya, and Julian, and he was having trouble getting all 3 of us up for his finish. He could physically hold us,
Right.
but the lifting part or ways to get all 3 of us up on his shoulders
Yep.
was too difficult, and it was like it wasn't working, it wasn't smooth. So then they ended up bumping Julian out,
Right.
and it was just me and Ilya. And it was a great experience, you know, putting the match together with him, and then Triple H helped him out with a couple things, and
Yep.
we all just worked, and it was a lot. It was a lot of fun. It was a great experience. One of those
Nice.
things that I can say that, you know, I did, and
Yeah.
I can show people the video on YouTube and whatnot if I want to. But yeah, it's cool.
Nice.
I
Ever
try to
follow
avoid-
up to him
I
about
try
it?
to avoid showing my people my videos doing that stuff. But I'm, you know, he's kind of got a little bit of a reputation. He wasn't too rough in the ring, really.
He was fine. He was great, and he was
That's
super,
awesome.
super like nice and walked everything with us, and he was checking up on us afterwards, and he was awesome. Like I didn't experience anything too bad or rough with him. This might impress you, but people out there aren't really going to get it. But the thing that impressed me the most about him was before we went out, he took 11 niacin.
Oh, my head.
Yeah, I would take like before I'd wrestle. Sometimes you take like 1,
Yep.
half of 1. It helps like bring blood to your surface,
Okay.
get you a little red and tingly and stuff. 11, dude
So-
was huge.
To give you just kind of I actually have a niacin story. The first time I ever tried any niacin,
Yeah.
we're not talking an illegal performance enhancer. They're just over-the-counter niacin.
Right.
Alex Arian gave it to me. And I'm like, Al, you sure this is just like niacin, right? And then I bit into it, you chewed it up, and I just started tingling all over. I'm like, what did you do to me? What did you do to me?
He's like, no, that's what he's supposed to be doing.
Yeah,
what it's
that's
supposed to do.
exactly what it is. Yeah, I mean, one time I took like 3 or 4 niacin, and
Yeah.
Scotty Slade used to always carry around this orange juice with him. Took a whole bunch and like put it into his orange juice, and he was like drinking it. And he's like, "What the hell is going on?"
'Cause it does. It feels like a small swarm of bees under your skin.
Yeah, it's like
Oh,
gets you
that's a
tingly,
riot.
gets you
Yeah.
all red.
Yeah.
You know, so if you have a tan, it really brings it up to
Yeah.
the system and whatnot. Like, you know, you feel good. You know, if you didn't have a tan, you'd look really red. It'd be a little weird, but yeah, like 11 at least. It's
Wow.
crazy.
Wow.
Good Lord.
Hey, speaking of Ryback, though, he had heat with the guy we don't like, Punk.
Wow. Nah, whatever.
Now, he just was an actor. But you told, I loved your story, though, how he was he whistling?
That was me. Yeah, I was. I don't even want to go through
All
that
right.
story again.
Brian, Dan has another follow-up. As owner of Chaotic Wrestling, can you say where Brett Domino is?
Yeah, he finished. Yeah, so Brett, when he finished college, he got a full-time job, you know, working in an office and stuff, and wrestling kind of became a secondary thing to him,
Right.
and not really something that he was able to focus on anymore or really do it. I won't say that we've officially 100% seen the last of him. I think once
he was really getting
he
good.
was super
Really?
entertaining.
Yeah.
And his character work was awesome. I just think, you know, that big of a step that first time and, you know, starting his career,
Yeah.
you know, he's got to get settled in, I think. And then I think after that, if he misses it, you know, I actually just talked to him recently, but if he misses it, you know, he'll be able to find a way to kind of back in a little bit here and there.
Nice. Well, the fans want you back, Brett. All right, referee Richard Lannon, how in the hell did you get into Chaotic when you're always working for the competition? And who did you fight in your first Chaotic match?
So, you know, I always wrestled for a lot of different places. Obviously, the big feud was WFA, Steve Bradley's promotion, and Chaotic Wrestling.
Yeah.
Once that had closed, I didn't really even have a place to train anymore either.
Right.
And so,
Yeah, because they pretty much closed before you started.
Yeah.
If my memory serves.
yeah, well, so he
correctly.
closed, but the school kind of stayed open because
Yep.
Kathy and John and a couple of people stayed there for a lot longer. And we just kind of saw the writing on the wall of how things weren't there, and it wasn't the same training and stuff that we were getting before. My girlfriend at the time, Nikki Rocks, reached out to Chaotic, and she actually went and trained a couple times before I did. And then I went and trained and stuff, and Todd Fat Pants Sinclair was the booker at the time, and I said, I'd like to start wrestling for you guys. Would you guys like? And he was like, I would love to have you.
Nice.
And my first match ever was against Dr. Reginald Heresy for Chaotic Wrestling.
I didn't know that.
I just happened to see him not so long ago at the Beyond show.
He looks great now. A
Yeah,
couple
he
pictures
does.
that I've seen of him. Yeah,
He does. He
good.
looks
About
fantastic.
like 135 pounds.
Yeah. And he actually has wrestled a few times too.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, Adam Luce. We talked about Adam off air. Any memories from the Quincy Armory?
I had a lot of fun stuff at the Quincy Armory. That was where I had my big cage match with DC Dillinger, right?
Yes.
If I remember correctly.
Yep.
Obviously, I think my first match ever there was for PWF Northeast, one of their bigger shows. It was me and John Walters against Makazi and Jason Blade.
Nice.
I don't remember what their tag team name was.
Did Jason show up that night?
Yeah, he was there. Yeah,
Okay.
it was good. And both John and I were both like outsiders to the company, so but people kind of knew us a little bit from the area. And then from there, when Sheldon started running there regularly, it just became like, that was like Chaotic's home. New England Championship Wrestling's home. So I was there on a monthly basis, and had a lot of different things, a lot of different storylines and angles with DC Dillinger, Eddie Edwards, and a lot of different things with NECW. I think I won the title there, and I lost the title there.
Nice.
So yeah, it was a good building, a lot of fun.
Did you ever wrestle for Collision Pro Wrestling? Brian Reese?
No.
Okay. All right, Dave Fournier has a question. What was it like in your early days working for Jeff and Wolfie?
I mean, when I think back now, I think differently. I think then.
Right.
Then I didn't. I was just this brand new guy, pro wrestling cool. Like,
Did you show up at the fantasy camp with Justin? Do I remember that?
no.
Oh,
So
okay.
Justin was there a little bit before me, and then I came in a little while afterwards. He'd already been training in wrestling some. He had just started Shagadelic Justin Powers, I think, when
Yes.
when I started. And so that was really all that I knew about independent professional wrestling. I didn't know how much more was out there or anything. So it was a lot of fun. It was a great time. Quite a different cast of characters. I was by far like the smallest person on the shows then. But it was also like Paul at the time, Justin at the time, and I was same size as them, but I was in a little bit better shape than those guys. And then from there, you start to do some storylines that wouldn't necessarily go one show to the next. For Jeff, it was just a little weird.
No, Jeff was usually at most two overlaps, and that was done.
Yeah.
He might do like the 3, and usually that was pretty much it.
Yeah, so it was like, you do the Hudson Lions Hall, and then you started doing St. Stan's. And St. Stan's is where I think I did most of my Jeff shows. St. Stan's Hall in Nashua. And that was a great time. Like, I had a blast.
Yep.
I can look back with fond memories and stuff. And then, but at the time, I was like, I started to do a couple of other shows here and there, and I was like, wow, it's very different. All these different places. But you kind of start to realize, like, this place is like this. This place is like this. So for what it was, like it was a blast.
Yeah.
Me and Brian were both involved in the same match, the worst match in the history of Hudson, New Hampshire.
Which one was that one?
There were the conquistador suits that I had bought that for some reason Jeff thought you guys owed him money for. And Paul was doing an LA Parka rip-off thing.
Yes.
And then it was on the other side, it was me, Rip, and Jeff. And I remember being on the ring apron going, this is the worst goddamn match. I remember I got in the ring, and at the time Justin was doing the Northern Lights, and I was so mad I couldn't even tell you two apart. I was like, Northern Lights, what? But I don't do it.
Yeah.
It was like, wow, that was a big highlight of the match. It got even worse after that. It was one of those things. It was just, you had enough good people in there where it had no business being that bad, and you were ashamed to be part of it, and you just wanted to hide your head into the ring.
I had wiped that completely from my memory. Thanks for bringing that back up.
No problem, man.
It's just, yeah. So Jeff and Rip definitely didn't like to talk too much before the matches.
Right. That's what I've heard.
And I know myself and Paul were very new, and so not calling anything at all ahead of time wasn't always the best. And
Right.
so it was just such a mix where it was just like fell apart and then never got back on track. And yeah, it was
Fell apart. It never got on track in the first place.
All right. Also, here's a follow-up. Also, do you like it better as a promoter owner, or did you like it better when you just wrestled?
it's so much easier when I just wrestle.
Right. Oh, I can imagine.
It's
Yeah.
great. Just show up and
Yeah.
and worry about one match instead of worrying about 7 or 8 and angles and promos and whatever else. They both have the pluses and minuses. You know, I love what I'm doing now. But man, if I could just go somewhere and just worry about what my match, like,
Yeah.
it is fantastic.
Nice, right?
Yeah, it helps a lot.
You remember when you used to be so geared about, I got to make sure this match is good. I got to make sure my match is good. I got to make sure. Then you start pulling double, triple duty like that. You're a promoter and you worry about, and then you go wrestle someplace and that's it. And all I have to worry about is what I'm doing right now.
Yep,
It's
pretty good.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
It's awesome. No, but you know, I love doing the promoting thing. It's a lot of fun.
Right. All right. Jared Jumley wants to know, what's the toughest part of owning a wrestling promotion school? So tell me, you probably answered this on the first one.
Of a promotion or school?
The promotion. What's the toughest part of owning a wrestling promotion? / school. I'm sorry, Paul.
So
They're different.
yeah, I like to keep them very separate.
Right.
It's not quite like it used to be, where that was just a school like for Chaotic. Like I like train my wrestlers to kind of go everywhere. So I mean, they're both very different.
Right.
The school, I think I got down to a science now at this point in time. I think I've owned it like 7 or 8 years now.
Oh, nice.
I've owned the New England Pro Wrestling Academy, so that's been awesome. You know, just a matter of getting the students in there and making them get their reps, you know, get that fundamentals foundation down. Like it's hard not knowing like income
Right.
at a school because students can come and go at any point in time.
Yeah.
So I can't necessarily budget for things. So that's
Yeah.
a little difficult. As far as promotion goes, a matter of keeping fans happy and interested in addition to dealing with all the different injuries and other things that may come up. You know, it's hard when you have a guy like Josh Briggs and AG who wrestled for like Evolve Wrestling now.
Right.
And Chaotic, we tend to have our schedule up for a year in advance. And then those kind of schedules, they have to take those priority bookings first. So it's a little difficult sometimes dealing with that stuff in addition to injuries and whatever else. And then like we just talked about, like Woburn closing through a big wrench into things and looking for new buildings. So there's always different hurdles and stuff to cross as running a promotion and dealing with talent and everything. So it's, there's a lot going on there. It's a constant thing. So.
And that is one thing I've noticed where a lot of it's changed, especially with Chaotic, is a lot of the schools in the area or gyms, Jeff's included, when I ran my own, it was the same way. It was all kind of part of the same unit, like, you felt an obligation to use everybody you were training,
Right.
And I know I see the guys that train down at Chaotic that don't end up on the shows hardly ever, if at all.
Well, no, I mean, we have a good crew right now. The Charlie Cashew, CJ Cruz, Ricky Archer. We're trying to get those students that are ready for shows up and on and in, but it's not necessarily. We try to get them, make sure they wrestle everywhere too. I don't want to be the guy that's like, oh, you can only wrestle here, and I want my students
we've both been through that.
I want my students to wrestle as many places as they can to get as much experience as they can, because I want them to blossom and grow and move on.
Yep.
The issue now is that there's so much opportunities in independent wrestling where they don't stick around Chaotic and make it their home as long as other people did.
Yeah.
Handsome Johnny, Ivar, whatever you want to call him, he was there for
long time.
14, 15 years.
Yeah.
Now it's like 1 or 2, and they can start wrestling other big places.
Yeah.
And I want them to as a trainer.
Right.
Selfishly, I'd like them to stay at Chaotic because, I'm a promoter, but at the same time, like I understand both ends of the coin. So I want them to go out and take these big opportunities and jump and stuff. So the roster turnover, I think, is a little bit more as far as that goes. But I think a lot of our students it's still their home, at least those first couple of years.
But the more homebody types, really, they're not. There's less and less of them, and this is a knock at either these guys, but like Chase or the Logans. I mean, they don't really work around that much, and they're all good, It's just, there seems to be less of a homebody kind of attitude.
Right.
at this point.
All right. Jared has a follow-up. What is the most rewarding part of ownership?
For me, it was the ability to kind of keep the chaotic legacy going, and then as well as just promoting shows that I know are quality and some of the best in the area, and to be able to watch it grow. I think Chaotic was very, I don't want to say sheltered, but Jamie never let anybody see Chaotic Wrestling unless she went to a show. For me, I like being able to have a lot of that footage out there and people be able to see things and experience it. They can't necessarily make it.
Right.
Especially, in today's marketplace where there's YouTube and, IWTV and all these other different things where people can kind of watch wrestling anywhere. I want them to be able to see Chaotic Wrestling and kind of see what we offer. Chaotic is and always will be the birthplace of stars. And I think be able to keep that alive and going, that's a big thing for me.
Some of that always drove me nuts when I was there, because so little of my stuff ended up on YouTube.
Right.
Just because, of the time frame I was doing it and stuff. And I always thought that Jamie would be a little more progressive in that manner, and he wasn't. He didn't want it out there.
He hoarded it. And to think about some of the matches and the people that have been through Chaotic, you go through the long list, like some of the stuff that exists, and we have them on like little tapes. It's just a matter of kind of converting it and all that stuff to kind of get some of it out there. But it's like, it's crazy to think about some of the stuff that was there and some of the matches that people had that people could have watched and would have loved, especially at the time when like Ring of Honor was blossoming and whatnot. Like, Chaotic could have been a lot bigger than it was, and I think Jamie didn't want it to.
Right.
I think he wanted to keep it what it was, and almost like a little mini feeder system for WWE in the Northeast versus kind of growing it into a bigger thing.
He's pretty much admitted that's what his ultimate goal was.
Yep.
At the time, I think he wanted to be a developmental territory.
All right, last one from Jared. What made you decide to buy it?
So I'd always wanted to run something of my own after I stopped wrestling, anyways. I'd always wanted, at the very least, a show, but I wanted the promotion.
Yep.
And that was kind of an idea. Because I always grew up in something like that. Jeff's was that way, Steve's was that way, and then from there, Chaotic was that way. And so when I had to school and I stopped wrestling, I had a bunch of things I had to get straight in my personal life, and then really get the school boiled down and grow the school. And then the next step was a promotion and start running shows. And I was going to, just run New Hampshire because nobody was at the time at all.
Right.
And then Jamie decided that he was going to sell Chaotic Wrestling. He was going to get out of the business altogether because he'd already sold me the school. And, that opportunity was something that I couldn't pass up. Obviously, it was a good chunk of change down, but everything was there. And then I didn't have to start something from scratch. I didn't have to do anything along those lines. So it was the opportunity was there, and I jumped at it.
Nice.
I thought that was like, it was like right place, right time almost.
Yep.
So where I thought it was pretty awesome to be able to do that.
Nice.
It wasn't like it wasn't like it did have any kind of a name value in the area. I mean, it did have a following.
Oh, definitely.
Even if the following hadn't grown in a while.
Right.
All
right. Ref Rich Landon's back. You ever thought about turning Scotty Slade heel with a Hugh Hefner Playboy gimmick with beautiful women and using the name Scotty Too Naughty?
I actually did pitch a heel turn for Scotty Slade probably like a year and a half ago in a very different manner. And he wasn't super receptive to the idea. But at the same time, like it wouldn't have ended up working out anyways because we were going to put him with Brick Mass Stone when he was starting to change, and almost like Brick Mass Stone was kind of controlling him with whatever was going on. Brick ended up, getting hurt and not able to wrestle, so it wouldn't have necessarily worked out anyways. But if I have ideas or, my partner has ideas, we kind of pitch them and talk to them and try to get their input and stuff as well and see how they feel about it or what they would do with it. And then if they're not for it, like I'm not going to force them to do something or make them do something that their heart's not in it, they're not going to make it work as good as it could be. Scotty Too Naughty, definitely not. But Scotty as a heel, I think could work in the right context.
Right.
When did he start picking out of the Jeff Costa playbook?
I don't know. I don't know. But while we're on Scotty Too Naughty, can you talk about the match? This is from Dan Bollier. Can you talk about the match at Cold Fury 13? One of my favorite
It's hung up
Cold
on
Furies. Happy that you won, but I don't think he really is because he follows that up with, glad you won the title, but it felt like Scotty Slade's night.
This thing gets brought up all the time, so much. And I was actually literally just talking to Tarzan about this Saturday morning. Tarzan was the booker at the time. In case you didn't know that.
No, because in the original question that was asked before, he did say he didn't know it was Tarzan.
Yeah. That's a running joke on their podcast, by the way. Did you know Tarzan was the booker?
Yeah, oh yeah.
So actually just talking about this at the time because that poster was hanging up at the school. I was just coming back from my ankle surgery, and I don't think Scotty was even originally supposed to be in the match. He ended up winning, I think it was Pandemonium or something to be put in the match. I think that was originally a spot that I was supposed to have.
Okay.
Because I wasn't ready quite yet.
Yeah.
And then the way things boiled down to, ended up becoming a triple threat. They put a little tension into team friendship. The way we were just talking about it with Tarzan the other day was technically Scotty could have won it that night, and I would have taken it from him at the next show. Because if you remember, him and I had a singles match where Alicia Edwards, just Lish at the time, I think, turned on him the next show and joined me.
Right.
It was like me, Taven, and Vinny were like a little faction for a short period of time there. So it could have happened, but at the same time, I just, whatever, throughout my whole career, what do you want me to do? Okay.
Right.
And I just do it. So I had no part of the decision-making process for that period of time. What do you want me to do? Okay, cool, I'll do it. And if I had an idea to fix it or change it or help it, okay, but I was never this is what I want to do, this is what I'd like to do type of person. So yeah.
All right,
What
Dan.
does Sherman like to wrestle? Sherman's actually one of my favorite people. I think he thinks I hate him.
Sherman thinks everybody hates him, including me, which is weird. I love Mark Sherman, and when you talk to him, Sherman's so weird because he'll say, "Oh, when I talk to other people one-on-one, they all like me, but I'm in a big group of people, nobody likes me." It's the opposite though, because he's a different person when you talk to him one-on-one. He's like a normal human being instead of always being on when he's in a group of people.
You ever talk to Mark?
No, I've just watched him wrestle.
Sometimes he's like the living embodiment of the Jersey Shore. He's always been so entertaining.
Right.
He's super
so
entertaining,
funny.
and he's amazingly charismatic, and he had a good body, and he was one of my students. I like Sherman a lot. He had 2 left feet for a lot of time, but I knew what he could and couldn't do. And whenever he put matches together, I would always tell him, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, avoid your weaknesses. I have a big board at the school. One of the things is the crowd doesn't know what you can't do unless you show them.
Right.
And that was a big thing that I, preached to him. I loved wrestling him. Him and I had some very good matches. Our best match was in Stoneham, Massachusetts, when he beat me for the Chaotic Wrestling Championship, and it was a blast. But some people would want him to do too much or outside of his comfort zone, and he would either argue against it because he didn't want to do it, and people would get angry with him, or he would go along with it, and it wouldn't necessarily be that good. I think he was good. He was charismatic. Wrestling politics and whatnot kind of ate him up, I think, a little bit. And then, but he could have done a lot more if he wanted to. I don't think he was ever 100% into getting better as a pro wrestler. He was kind of 75% in, and then loved, he always loved pro wrestling. And that was what kind of got him farther than a lot of other things that he did.
Nice. All right. I think if it was a one-on-one match between Slade and Sherman, I could have seen them doing it because they were, partners and all that. They had it falling out, but he didn't like my answer.
It's funny to think about it now because, Scotty Slade, but in that little bubble time period, Scotty was on quite the roll. And it could have worked, but at the same time, I can easily see it not working. And so any one of the 3 of us could have won that match and it would have worked. So.
Okay, see that? So you got one guy to give you the answer that you wanted. All right, I already did that. Mav, we should ask about Steve Bradley's temper tantrums. They were legendary.
No, not at all.
Yes, they were.
Steve, so many funny stories. I remember that one time he had a little bathroom in his school, and he got locked in it, and he was angry. He just like busted through the door to the bathroom to get out of it. Like just broke it.
Right.
So no one could use the bathroom at the school for like 2 weeks before he got a new door for it. You know, he'd have his metal bat at the school. It was just there. And I remember he put a couple holes in the wall for something or other while he was angry. He'd always take his hat off and throw it across the room. You know, I'm trying not to get into Steve mode because swears naturally come out when he does it. But yeah, Steve was he's always just so passionate about stuff.
Very passionate.
Yeah, and so he would like, you know, I find myself the same way a lot of times while I'm training. I don't know if it's because I'm a product of my environment or I'm the same way, but I'm like, geez, like what the hell, you know? But it's not out of like anger. It's just like, out of passion. Like, you get all fired up about something and whatever it is. So yeah, but yeah, Steve, he would get mad.
Oh yeah,
he would get mad a lot of times.
His temper was actually the reason I never worked for him.
Oh really?
I was actually supposed to do the very first WFA show with Alex Arian, and all of a sudden there was a show in Quincy, and he was yelling and screaming at Alex, and I'm like, I couldn't tolerate that kind of temper. I'd lose my mind.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. He wasn't. Not angry. Yeah, but it was just. He was so detail oriented. He needed everything and wanted everything to be perfect all the time. So if it wasn't up to his standards of what it was, and like he would like just lose his mind. And he, without telling you, he would expect you to know exactly how he wanted it. Like, what do you mean you don't know? Just get all fired up. Like you learn to like understand it or love it. And for me, I just learned to kind of ignore it and see through it or whatever. But yeah, I mean, if you didn't know Steve and those first couple of months of getting to know Steve, is like, he's a scary dude.
Right.
You take that a different way. You know, Steve's super intimidating. And it's weird. A lot of my students say that I am the same way, which I love. Yep. I want to be that way with my students. Right. But at the same time, I want that they also know when they get to know me, it's like I'm a different person as well. Like, you know, I care and love them all.
All right. What's the hottest angle you've ever been involved in? And what made it so good? I mean, if you want to do that, answer that one after too.
Boy, I had a couple. My feud with Jimmy Preston was very good. I think the way we were each presented complemented each other very well, and that was kind of what the angle was based around. He was a big sports entertainment, showy promo guy, and I was like the pro wrestler at the time, and I thought, you know, obviously he was super over. We had like a 3 or 4, actually probably like a 5 or 6 month feud. Right. A couple different matches, and I think those were very, very over. I was there at the beginning of Sean Gorman taking over Chaotic Wrestling and winning the presidency. My match with Todd Hansen was one of the best matches that I can remember ever having. Where he ended up winning the presidency, and I got hurt not too long afterwards, so I missed the rest of that whole angle. But those were a couple that jump out right off the top of my head. My stuff with Sherman was good. I had a long-standing feud with Mikaze, where I first turned heel. It was a lot of fun. But I mean, those are some of the bigger things that I can remember. Obviously, my stuff with Steve in Dover, New Hampshire, my hometown. My first real like angle, you know, when he kind of attacked me in my hometown, and it was like a big thing. Like, so that was one of those ones that was a lot of fun. But I mean, some of the hottest ones. I mean, it's hard because, you know, 20 years for me now. It's like you kind of just remember certain things, and a lot of those ones I just mentioned were either my first real angle or some of the more recent ones. So yeah, it's tough to say.
I always go back to my match with Rip over the years.
And bloodbaths.
But another person he mentioned though was I remember Mikaze. I wrestled Mikaze on a show in Orange, Massachusetts, and it was just it looked like we played it out well. It would look like it looked like he was a really fast dancer, which he was. He was very fast. He was very athletic. Right. And I was just doing everything I could to keep up with him, and they just kind of bought it. And I really liked that. I really, really loved that match, and it got over like gangbusters. It really did. Nice. Probably one of the loudest reactions I ever got. Right. For me, I always generally look at, well, it probably wasn't any good unless I lost. So,
Can't win them all, right? Right?
I win a couple of them, please.
Now that you're wrestling sporadically again, who are you most looking forward to wrestling in the future? That's from Sonny Goodspeed.
It's hard to say. I mean, like I had a short list, and I kind of got them out in that first year back.
Right.
You know, Josh Briggs was a big one, and we had a big, long storyline leading into that.
Right.
Anthony Green was another one. Christian Casanova was another one. That one just kind of happened by happenstance.
Yep.
So I mean, I've had 4 matches in the year after 2 years off. It's as far as like my guys or people from my promotion, there's nobody that I haven't really wrestled before that I would necessarily say I have to like get in there with. It's you know, for chaotic wrestling, when I do it, I like it to be some sort of storyline, or reason, or angle, or something like that. Especially because I can kind of control it. The plan is maybe to wrestle somewhere else a little bit here and there. I'm not 100% sure with that yet. We'll see. You know, after 2 years off, and like I said, you know, get my life back together, and you know, getting married, working on the school, on a promotion and stuff. Like, I feel good. You know, I had lost like close to 40 pounds. I put like 15 of them back on or so. Kind of been yo-yoing between 215 and, you know, 195 or so, which is great. Not the yo-yoing, but when I'm down that low.
Yeah.
So, and I feel good, you know. It's just a matter of kind of wrestling somewhere here and there. I'll never wrestle a regular schedule again. You know, 40 years old now, and you know what it's like. You don't feel the same Monday morning that you did when you were like, you know, 29, 30. Like you banged up, okay, no big deal.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
like
for sure.
I still have to go. You know, I work at UPS, you know, part time during the week, and it's like takes a toll on me. So I'd like to wrestle some, maybe here and there. It's more of a mental thing than like a physical thing, because I'm like, oh man, like I see the way pro wrestling is now versus what it was like when I was there, and I see all the different opportunities and what people are doing, and the amount of money people are making, and the different things, and how much it's grown. Like, I'm like, man, if I was, you know, 5 years later, you know, like it'd be perfect. But you know, I was in that. My pro wrestling career took place after, you know, WCW, ECW, all those other places closed.
Yeah.
And WWE wanted nothing to do with independent wrestlers. And then when I stopped, it was like all they wanted was independent wrestlers, and there's all these independent. So my career took place, the majority of it, in that middle part where there was like not much. There was like Ring of Honor, and like that was it. And so I know that I can still kind of hang, and I want the opportunities to be able to do some little things here and there. Again, but back to what we were talking about earlier, I can just go to a show and just worry about my match and do it and be great. So I don't have anybody in particular per se. You know, more of like an opportunity for a place maybe is what I'd be looking forward to more than like a particular opponent.
Me and you were in a really weird segment, because you came into it and things were extremely down. Territories had been long dead already.
Yeah.
And then it was just this complete downtime for what you were doing. And then 5 years later, people could actually make money at doing it. And it's like, God damn it, I missed it. But I always get it on the other end of it, because, you know, 5 years prior to that, prior to when I broke in, you know, territories were still reasonably strong. And that was always something I thought I could have done. It would just, you know, we were in a suck era.
It's so weird too, because like for most of my career, like when I was in like my best shape, I was between 210, 215, and I was solid then. Not quite the 210, 215 I am now. And I was still considered like
small,
tiny.
Yeah.
And then I know a lot of the people that are like, you know, wrestling now. I know the Adam Coles and the Balors and all these guys, and I'm bigger than a lot of these guys, which is weird to think about. And they're like top guys. And I'm like, man, like pro wrestling messed with my view of like bodies and body dysmorphia. Like I was watching, you know, NFL, when you watch football and they have like the stats. This guy is, I'm like, these guys are pro NFL players. I'm like, they're like, this guy is 5'10", like 185 pounds. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was like 20 pounds heavy. Like it messes with my head to think about that because of the way pro wrestling was for such a long period of time. Like I'm happy that it's changed. I would like everybody to be a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit more muscular. Some, but at the same time, as long as you're athletic, I think it's awesome.
I've always thought that I think you should at least have enough mass to you where you look effective when you're trying to damage somebody.
Right.
That's always been my thing. And I get caught up in the same thing of small, but I mean, I was 230 pounds and they thought I was small.
Right.
And when I came back to it for a year and I was 230 pounds, I was like bigger than most of everybody else. It was strange. It was really weird.
Right. Guys, let's play the name game. I want to bring up a bunch of guys that you probably haven't seen in a long time, even some of them.
All right.
Vince Vicalo.
Vince. Oh yeah, I love Vince. He was great. A lot of fun. Always great mood. Happy to be around. Traveled with him once or twice. We went up to Canada one time. Steve was doing like a show in Littleton and then Newport, Vermont. He went way up to Newport, Vermont. It's like 5 minutes from the Canadian border.
Okay.
We'd go up to like Sherbrooke. And we were up until, I don't know, 3 in the morning or something like that. And I went to bed, and I remember waking up at like 6, and he was like in the corner of the room doing squats, and like he had like his bands, and he was doing his curls and push-ups and everything else. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, gotta get my morning workout in. Always doing something like that.
Nice.
And then we'd eat one meal, usually. It'd be breakfast. And then it would be...
It was lean.
And then it would be protein bars and beers the rest of the day. That was
right.
Yeah, he was. It was something different. yeah. I remember.
Yeah, he was part of 12-pack. He brought the 6-pack, and John Walters brought the abs.
When I was helping run EWA, I remember Jeremy told me, "You're in charge of making sure he doesn't drink on the shows." I'm like, I don't want that job.
Right.
I remember he showed up one time to one of Steve's shows, and he had like powder or something all over his shirt. And I was like, "What's that?" He's like, "Oh, I was trying to make a protein shake while driving here in his convertible with the top down." he's driving, top down, scooping the protein into his shaker where they're going everywhere because, that's...
He was the oddest mixture of incredibly healthy and incredibly unhealthy.
Wow. That's awesome. Rick Fuller.
Oh, I love Rick. Rick was one of those guys where you see him and you think one thing and then you talk to him and he's the most quiet, laid back like type of guy. And, if he didn't trust you in the ring, you knew it. And then after he did trust you in the ring, you knew it.
Right.
Rick was awesome. First time I ever wrestled him, we're supposed to go to a 15-minute time limit draw. This was at the Hot Dog Safari.
Okay.
The ring wasn't flat. It was kind of raining and gross. And this was the first time I ever wrestled him. He's like, and he told me ahead of time, he goes, "Sorry, kid, we're just going to have to kind of just wing it. I'm probably going to chop you up some." And I was like, "That's fine." And then after that, after he got to know me, we wrestled a bunch of other times after that. And he's taking bumps for me and all this other stuff. Like, it was awesome. But Rick was one of those guys where he kind of take you under his wing a little bit when he liked you and got to know you some. And he was one of the first guys I talked to that really loved Disney. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, Disney's a big part of my life now. And he talked to me before I went my first trip, and he goes, "When you get back, we'll talk." And he goes, "I have a feeling you'll get it. You'll understand it." And I do. I get it and understand
That's
Disney.
awesome.
Disney's the best.
He likes Disney.
Loves Disney.
I don't like Rick anymore.
How about guy just ran the first show in a while. Actually, it might have been a second show in a while, but Dan Moratti.
I haven't seen or talked to Dan in years. Dan saw me at an NECW show and then wanted to use me and started using me. I was on some of his early shows. I think I might have been in his very first match ever. It was like me against Slick Wagner Brown. This is years ago. This is when he ran Revere.
Yep.
And I wrestled for him for a very, very, very long time. We had almost a little bit of a falling out. It wasn't necessarily like argument or anything like that, but I said, "Look, as much as I love you and I appreciate opportunities, like times have changed.
Right.
I'm not, like a new guy anymore.
Right.
Like I need a little bit more from you." And he didn't like that so much, and he twisted it and contorted it around into other things. And I was just like, "Well, okay, I'll just stop wrestling for you. It's not that big of a deal." But more power to him. I can't believe he's running shows again, which is crazy to me. Like,
didn't look like there was a lot of people in the crowd though. I did see some videos.
I never understood. Like, I understand when people bring in names and stuff, but he was known for bringing in like 6 or 7 names on one show.
Yeah.
And out of the 6 or 7, like maybe 2 of them could wrestle, and the rest were like just there for something.
Right.
It was like 2 could wrestle, 2 couldn't, and 2 wouldn't show up.
Yeah.
It seemed to be his formula.
It was one of those. even still now as a promoter, like I don't understand his formula for it. But
Right.
you know, whatever.
I barely know the guy
Right.
personally. My only real knowledge of the guy was him and Sheldon hated each other, and really he used to go out of his way to tear Sheldon apart.
Right.
And I was pretty tight with Sheldon at the time, and I didn't really appreciate it. And the subject of me going to work for him came up, and no thanks.
Right.
That's all
I feel like a lot of those 20 Rumble guys, when he passed away, all like really splintered.
Yeah, they did.
think.
That
Yeah.
really was. Yeah.
Definitely. All right, Mike Nice.
Oh, unbelievable.
Oh,
Mike Nice was a great guy.
early hair.
He, yes, curly hair. So Mike was when WWE did that tryout thing at the Chaotic Wrestling School.
Yep.
They also had a bunch of people that had never wrestled before, and he was one of the guys that was selected for that. And so WWE like paid for his training.
Yep.
If I remember correctly. And he was traveling all the way from New York and coming and training at the Chaotic School, 3 times a week. And a lot of I was still fairly new within my first year or so there, but a lot of the other Chaotic guys, like, they were known to be very cliquey.
Yep.
And they didn't like the Mike Nices and a couple other guys that were there because they were angry and bitter because WWE is paying for this guy's training and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. But I always liked him and talked to him and helped him out. And
Right.
he never forgot that. He always thought, like, I remember him saying that to me. It's like, when everybody else was kind of mean to me or angry with me, like, you were nice to me. Limited in the ring, but strong as an ox. I liked his character MPG that he was doing towards the end more than the Mike Nice character.
Right.
But it's funny when you look at Mike Nice and he hated it. Years later, you had like Enzo and Big Cass, and like that was what Mike Nice was.
Okay.
Years prior.
Right.
He just didn't see a comedy, goofy guy going
Yeah.
anywhere. And it's funny that if he had just done that, maybe he could have.
All right. Anything to add?
I always liked Mike.
Yep.
I knew what his deal was when he was at Chaotic, and probably because I was a little bit of an outsider myself, I would talk to him quite a bit.
Right.
And again, probably for the same reason, you can kind of seem to appreciate it, because some of the guys really didn't treat him that well.
Right.
Kind of like a goof, frankly, and he wasn't. It
Right.
was a little, but
Tony Omega.
Tony Omega just stopped by the school probably like 4 or 5 months ago.
Nice.
Just randomly. Omega's crazy. He's a lunatic, but he's a good guy. Always a guy you want to keep on your good side.
yeah.
If you know what I'm saying. But he super helpful. He was like a handyman, Mr. Fix-It. Anything that Chaotic needed at the time, like he would be able to work on it, fix it. Like he was a good guy.
If you dropped off a load of wood at his house,
Yeah.
on a Saturday, by Sunday morning you have a house built. It
Yeah.
was crazy energy.
My favorite
Nice.
joke about Tony Omega is always last 5 in a Battle Royal or Royal Rumble. Because usually when you book out at Royal Rumble, you go, these are the final 4.
Right.
He was always the final 5, no matter what.
How about Fred Bone Crusher Sampson?
Fred Sampson, Darren Young. I love Fred. Fred was a great guy. He was actually the guy that when I worked Ryback, when they had the 3 of us and they were trying to figure out which 2, Fred was like I've worked with this guy, like I love him, and he asked me, do you want to do it? I was like, I'd love to do it, because I'd never done one before, and he was like, Fred said, go with him. Fred and I had a big feud in Chaotic Wrestling over the New England Championship at a ladder match. We broke the middle rope. Fred was a good guy. I liked Fred a lot. One of the biggest, scariest guys, but another soft-spoken individual.
Very quiet. Very. I wrestled in a bunch of tag team matches. Me and Heresy and him and Fuller.
Nice.
And, he was probably a little raw at that point, but I always liked Fred. He was so soft-spoken and so nice.
How about Billy Bax? Robbie E.
I only ever met him one time.
Really?
And actually, we wrestled. We wrestled. It was me and Makazi against the
Valedictorians.
and that was the only time I ever met him.
Really?
Actually, I think I had met him briefly because we were in the same Super 8 together.
Yes, so you met him at the ECWA.
He was there. Him and Robbie wrestled the first round. I
Right.
wrestled Jerry Lynn in that first round. If it was the same one, I think. But
I think it is the same one.
But we only wrestled that one time at Chaotic. Never really talked too much. He was a good guy.
Right.
We had a fun match. Yeah.
Yep, nice. You don't know?
No,
Okay.
don't.
How about Cherry Payne?
Cherie. I love
So
Cherie.
how do you say it, Cherie?
Yeah.
All right.
Cherie, Cherry.
All right.
Either one. Sweetheart.
Yeah.
She was always very quiet. And I didn't really think that she had. A lot of people, when she managed, didn't use her. I feel
Right.
like because when I was there at first, she was with just Brian Malonis, and which later became like big business. And I feel like she
Yes.
was just there, and a lot of people didn't utilize her or use her any. So I always had made sure that I wanted her to do something
Yeah.
or whatever it was. And she's a sweetheart. Yeah, she's
Nice.
always one of the nice people.
Same feeling. Very, very, very nice. I remember doing shows with Chaotic, and
Right.
she was the manager. I really didn't know much about her, and I would propose doing things with her, with Brian, and she was, almost seemed like taken aback by it because people really didn't
A lot of
put
people
her in those positions.
A lot of people didn't.
Yeah.
Really?
And I thought she's very intelligent too,
Right.
which is big with me. It is, because I'm not very intelligent, so I have to rely on people that's smarter than me.
Yeah.
Right.
Probably too nice for the wrestling business.
Yeah.
What about the guy Gary something that owned Green Mountain Wrestling?
Gary Langevin.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, wrestling on the scenic Lake Hermaphrodite, Hermaphrodog, excuse me. Gary was very soft-spoken. Another guy probably way too nice for professional wrestling. I hate to say it, but a lot of us took advantage of poor Gary's good nature. Sonny destroyed a bed in a hotel room on him one time. Yep.
Yeah, Gary was great. He had a working relationship with Steve for a little while. That's when we'd run the Newport shows. We'd
Right.
go up there in correlation with him a little bit. He owned a movie theater up there. Would let us in. Whenever we were up that way. Gary was a great guy. After he got out of the wrestling business, he sold as soon as thing. He's on Facebook, kind of.
Yeah.
I think he uses like his wife's Facebook account. So
Nice.
yeah, but no,
Brianna.
something like that. I hear from him once in a while, but Gary was always one of those nice guys. Yeah.
Nice.
Just super nice guy. I couldn't talk highly enough about Gary.
I was at the one TV taping he did at Jeff's school.
Yeah.
So I was there that. Brian, you want to plug your stuff?
Sure.
right.
chaoticwrestling.com. Obviously, depending on when this airs, but Pandemonium this Friday.
It's live.
But yeah, well, Pandemonium is this Friday. It's going to be a big one. We got a bunch of other
It's timely.
shows coming up leading up to Cold Fury, on the road to Cold Fury.
Right.
If you ever want to become a professional wrestler, neprowrestling.com, or just hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, NEProWrestling. So it's great to be back.
Felt like me and Gene. We're live. Buddy, we're live.
We're live,
Said
pal.
That was one of the greatest
Hey,
things
put
I
that
ever
cigarette
seen.
out.
That was hilarious. Anything you want to?
I have nothing to push.
Nothing. Boston Bruins, they're doing all right. They're on a 3-game losing streak. They play the Nashville Predators tonight in Nashville. I think it's Raskin Net versus Pecorine. Go Bruins.
I love the Bruins. I also love the Golden Knights. Go Golden Knights.
I do too. They got a great team. Great goalie too, Marc-Andre Fleury.
It's the presentation is different than most hockey. It sure is.
I saw them while we were out there on our honeymoon. It was a blast.
Nice. I probably don't have to talk about any other sport now for 16 episodes.
Yeah,
I did it twice.
There you go.
Guys, thanks again. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Peace.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.